Welcome to Gate City Insider. I'm Rosemary Plyben. Well, Greensboro has a brand new city manager with a lot of experience in growing municipalities. He comes to the Gate City from Charlotte, but he gained more than 30 years experience from working all over the country. And we are so happy to welcome Taiwo Jaiyeoba. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much.
And welcome to Greensboro, most importantly.
I appreciate that. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Definitely. So tell us a little bit about yourself. First off, you and I were chatting before we started. You're a twin.
Yeah, I'm a twin. So I'm first person among a number of 5 sets of twins.
Wow.
On my father's side of the family. So Taiwo means the first half of a set of twins. So 53 years ago, my mom welcomed one boy and one girl into this world. Yeah.
And you were born in Nigeria?
Born in Nigeria, educated in Nigeria, and then I went to live in Botswana, Southern Africa, when I was 24, lived there for about 4 years before I came to the United States.
And what brought you to the United States? Did you have an interest in planning? I know that you went to college for that.
Kind of interesting. So my father went to school here and lived here for quite a while. So I used to come to the United States to visit him, but he was in Connecticut. And then we'll visit New Jersey, we'll visit New York, we'll visit Connecticut. I was roughly about 11, 12 years old. And I remember saying, one of these days I'll come here to the United States when I'm older. And so when I was in Southern Africa, I got a green card to come to the United States to work. So I worked for the city of Sacramento as a planner for about 3 years, then went to the Sacramento Regional Transit, started there as a planner, then became director of planning. And then, of course, the recession hit, and then I went to Michigan to work for this, the Rapid Transit Authority there for 3 years. And then company transferred me when I was in Michigan to Atlanta. My father had cancer. And so Atlanta was the best way for me to be able to bring him to the United States from Nigeria. It was only about a 12-hour flight for treatment. And so Dad left us about 8 years ago. He was about 84 years old. And then Mom is still here with us and visits every now and then. My parents were running a facility for seniors in Nigeria, and they still do because Mom is gynecologist obstetrician.
Yeah.
So she's been a midwife for as long as I could remember.
Oh, wow.
And so my dad was a professor of mental health, and I have pretty much 4 sisters and a brother.
And where are they?
So I have an older brother who is a professor of economic tourism in Botswana, Southern Africa. And then I have 2 sisters who are professors in Nigeria. And then I have 2 sisters who also live in Canada, and one is an attorney, runs her own practice, and one is a medical doctor, also runs her own practice too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Education is really important in your
family.
family.
Education is very important, not just to my family, but to Nigerians, especially if you come from the western part of Nigeria where I come from. Originally, people always said that even if you don't have money, you have education, it will take you anywhere. And I'm very grateful to my parents for allowing us to really thrive and go into school. And I'm always saying that I'm the least educated of my siblings. I only have a master's degree.
That's amazing. Well, and it really has taken you everywhere. I mean, so many places.
Yes, it has, and I've been blessed. I've been really fortunate. When I became a consultant, I was a consultant for 7 years, and part of my responsibility was really to manage projects in the North and South Carolinas. And then, but from Atlanta and later Charlotte, I was able to travel to different parts of the country to manage major land use and transportation projects. And so in 2018, the city of Charlotte asked me to be the planning director. I felt fortunate enough that consulting is great, offers you flexibility, but also comes with some challenges, especially traveling. And we had a younger kid who is now 12 and in the 7th grade. And I realized that from the time she was a baby, I've been traveling for most of my career. So at that particular point in time, decided to shift from the private sector back to the public sector so I could spend more time at home with my family. And it was not a decision that I regret at all. It was an exceptional decision to be able to spend time with the family at home. Yeah, but also more importantly though, I've always felt a call into the public sector. I felt that the public sector is where you really interface with people whose lives you impact on a day-to-day basis. Consultants do great work, but you travel from place to place. And as somebody who is really housed in a particular municipality, you're able to see the challenges and you live through those challenges every single day, whether they are traffic challenges or environmental quality, whatever they may be. And so you're able to really experience what your constituents or residents talk about. And so being able to work for the city of Charlotte and now being the city manager for Greensboro, it's really what I feel I've been called to. So I never really see it as a job, more as a calling.
I love that.
Yeah.
So where did this start for you as a child? I mean, did you have some association with government or planning or cities?
So growing up in Nigeria, again, like I said, my father was a professor of mental health and my mom was
Midwife.
Midwife. And they introduced me, and I had an uncle who was a geographer and was really focused on geographic information systems and worked for the government extensively. And I had other uncles who were geographers, but they worked as meteorologists. So I had these whole influences on my life about planning, about the environment, about traffic, about quality of life. And so my father always told me that becoming a planner was what he felt I was destined for, because planners change the world. Even though after I studied geography, my goal was not to go back and do a master's degree in planning, but he encouraged me to do so. I did, and I'm glad that I listened to him, and I have not looked back. So it's really a lot of influences from my parents wanting us to really focus on education. My uncles really influencing me about their careers and what that could mean for me, but also the environment that I lived in. That proverb that says it takes a village. In other words, you don't live alone by yourself. Everything that you do in an environment affects other people. The decisions you make affect other people who live in the neighborhood, who live in the community. All of those things have really shaped me a lot, and in kind of part of my philosophy.
Well, and part of even on your Twitter, if you follow you on Twitter, you say you have a passion to see people and places transformed,
Yes.
and that really sounds like what you're speaking to. That even from a childhood, you felt that.
Yeah, to me, it's always been like that. I just always feel that if you really want to impact a place, it's also going to have an impact on people. How people move around, where they go to shop, where they go to job, where they go for childcare purposes, and if they're seniors, how can they really move around the community without having to drive? And so it's not just about transforming a locality, but also the impact on people. So I've always felt that I have a passion to impact and transform people's lives and places, and that just gives me a sense of fulfillment.
So why Greensboro? Why now?
It's very interesting that you said that. So I said that I've always wanted to be a chief executive officer of a public or private corporation at some point in my career. I've always felt that my career trajectory was leading me in that direction. But you also have to be careful that it's the right time and the right place. And so I wasn't out looking, but when the opportunity came, I felt it was an opportunity that aligned with purpose, for me. And so I started asking questions. I've known about Greensboro since I've been coming to the Triad since 2012 and 2013. And so I started asking around, okay, what happened to the previous city manager? Why Greensboro? And so I felt that this city has a lot of things going for it. The rich civil rights legacy, the amount of parks and recreation opportunities in this city, the arts and culture investments. We even have a place that we've designated cultural districts. Not every city has that. But I also felt that Greensboro, with a population of about 300,000, the third largest city in the state, it's not too big and it's not too small. It creates an opportunity to be able to do some things really significant to move the city forward. And so with the announcement of Toyota, the announcement by Boom, I felt that something is definitely happening, which is a culmination of years of making efforts to really be that city that's on the move. And you can't be the type of person who has the mindset I have about seeing transformation in places and people, see that opportunity and not say this is the right one. for me. So for me, I've just felt I needed to put my name in the ring to definitely be considered for this, and here we are.
Here we are. Well, we're going to chat a little bit more about that. We're going to take a quick break. More with Ty, our new city manager, right after this break. Welcome back to Gate City Insider. Today with us is our Greensboro's new city manager, Taiwo Jaiyeoba. Welcome back. I almost said good morning because we're recording this in the morning. You are hosting listening sessions all over Greensboro, two in each district to try to reach people. And what are those really, and why is that important?
So I'll tell you that even if I was living in Greensboro prior to my appointment, I would still have done that because as a city manager, you work so closely with council members, of course, but at the end of the day, though, you help to implement council policies and decisions that will affect the lives of about 300,000 people. It's important as somebody who leads that implementation to go out and directly hear. It's always been my approach to how you connect with the community, how you build credibility, how you are able to hear directly, not through an email or not through a phone call or text message, but you look at people in the eye and you are able to answer questions. I did this in Charlotte too when I became planning director, even though I'd been living in Charlotte 3 years prior, going out in the community, getting to know people. That's the idea behind this. It's like, let's look at the person who is going to lead the team of 3,500 employees that will be implementing this. I want to hear from you. I don't want that to be colored by what I've heard from other people. But more importantly, as an outsider, coming from Charlotte here, it's also an introduction to who I am. And so far, people have been coming. And not only that, my understanding is that we've been getting in the hundreds people who have gone back to listen to the recordings. That's huge because it allows me to be able to know how deep we're reaching in the community. And like I have said, it's not a one and done thing. I would like to also do this again several months from now to let people know, here are the things we heard from you. Here's where we are in the process. So it becomes something that people look forward to over the next several years.
It's a conversation, and not only it has, people are investing their time and their ideas, and they have that connection. Connection, as we know, has become, so much more important than any of us even realized. So what have you learned so far?
So far, it's very interesting. When the council appointed me into this position, there were things that they mentioned to me that it's important that we focus on. One is that maintaining the momentum on jobs creation. I have had that also as I've gone into the community. Safe and affordable housing. Council mentioned that. I have had that as well. That probably is the number one thing that I've had over and over. Council has talked about mobility in terms of improving our public transit system. I've had that as well, which is really a lot about connectivity to different places. But I've also heard about public safety. Council has mentioned that as well, that we need to reduce the number of violence, we need to reduce violence incidents, we need to reduce the number of homicides. I've had those 4 things. But I've also had 2 things in addition to these 4 things, which in my mind are also very critical because they're the things that make Greensboro in my mind. That people appreciate the investment we've made in active open spaces, parks and recreational. We are number 71 out of 100 cities in the country when it comes to the what Trust for Public Lands talk about accessibility of residents within 10 minutes of an open space. We are number 71 in the country and number 2 in the state after Raleigh. I'm hopeful that we're going to beat Raleigh because we're just so close. We should be the best. And I've also heard about arts and culture, how we've invested in those areas, but how can we make it better as well? So those are 6 things that I've heard of, that I've heard from the community. Some of them, like I said, align with what council has been saying to me. Some of them are just, let's build on this. And I've also heard about how can we improve the way city delivers services to the residents in a more efficient and effective way. What can we do structurally to make sure that we deliver appropriately? That's definitely directly to me as city manager. And over the next several weeks and months, as I have conversation with our executive and with department heads, we will be working through that. How do we deliver services effectively and efficiently to our residents who expect nothing but the best from us?
So that's what I was going to ask you next. So is that kind of your leading charge, like right
Yes.
away, this is what you feel like you need to start working on?
That to me is very important. So it's great that we've had investment over the last 2 months, talking about thousands of jobs coming from Toyota EV battery plant or the Boom Supersonic factory. But how about smaller companies that generate 25 jobs, 30 jobs, 200 jobs? I want to make that a focus of our investment as well and support. So I would like to be able to have a department that focuses on economic and small business development. I really would like to do that. That's one way we can really structure to encourage small businesses, mom and pops. I also believe that our public transit system, it's one where I need to look at how we structure it so that it's no longer something that it's an afterthought, but it becomes part of a conversation. Even when people have vehicles, they say, hey, listen, I'm going to make a choice to use public transit to get to that place, because if I do, I can text and ride. It can take me safely to where I need to get to. But we need to take a good look at it as well. And so I feel that that's at the core of what I've been brought on to do. Make sure that we can answer the question for the city of Greensboro, how we structured to deliver services effectively and efficiently to 300,000 residents in an equitable and sustainable manner.
Your job, of course, is not to make everybody happy all the time, but you want to do that, but of course it never happens. How do you deal with some of the criticism that comes your way? I know you've had to deal with it in other cities, of course.
Criticisms are part of the job. I always tell people that I have 7 daughters and a wonderful and beautiful wife. Happy Valentine's Day. And, you have to be able to be calm and listen to everyone, regardless of their points of view, whether you agree with them or you don't. And that's how I do it at home as well. That's why I believe we have a very peaceful and stable home. Is that everyone from the age of 28 in my family and 12 understand that you are listening to them. What I mentioned to my 9 bosses is that I may not necessarily make them happy all the time, but I'll get them to a happy place where you can say, hey, I'm not totally happy with your decision, but I can understand why we're there. Criticism also allows us to open our eyes and say, oh, wow, we were not really thinking about that. Because sometimes as government, you look at something for so long and you don't really see certain things that you're missing. When people criticize you, it allows you to take another look. But what I will ask people to do is that when you criticize us, do it constructively, offer solutions, offer ideas, and then let's play with those ideas and solutions to be able to make things better. That's part of it why we're here. If everybody likes what we're doing, then maybe we're not really doing it. I think that
we're not doing enough,
exactly, right? Yeah. So I think we want to hear from people. Negative feedbacks allow us to be able to take another look. Positive feedbacks affirm what we're doing. Both are very important in driving the conversation.
The City Council has a goal of being the best mid-size car-optional American city by 2040. Are we on the right path?
When I was thinking about the next step in my career and if I was going to be a chief executive or city manager for a city, that was one of the things in my mind that I was thinking about. Like I said earlier, not too big, not too small, just the right size, mid-size. If there's any city that can achieve a 15, 20-minute city where everyone is within 15 to 20 minutes access to a place via transit, walking, biking, and driving in many instances, Greensboro is that city that can actually be a model. Greensboro can be car optional because we already have a lot of greenways that can really, trails that can really get people to where they need to get to. We have a lot of sizable sidewalks, and I've seen it and I've compared it, but can we do more? Yes, we can. Our public transit system definitely needs to get better. People should not have to ride all the way downtown to go to another place. People who want to use transit want to minimize transfers. they also want to be able to have a competitive service that will get them to where they need to get to. Transit service should not just be for the low income and minority demographics. It should be something that everyone feels that they can use regardless of the income spectrum or socioeconomics where you are. And so my charge is to get us to be that place, the best mid-sized city in the United States, so that when someone today in the United States thinks about which city they want to move to live in, they think about Greensboro. When someone wakes up in Greensboro tomorrow morning and they want to make a choice as to whether they stay or leave, I want them to conclude that they want to stay here because we're making it an equitable city from a mobility standpoint and from every other standpoint.
Before you got this job and came, someone told me that every time he talked with you, he felt better about himself, about what was coming in the future, and it just made him feel lighter and smile. And I think you have done that with us today. And we're just so happy that you're bringing that light and the spirit and ideas to Greensboro.
Thank you so much, Rosemary. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And I tell you that I feel that that's why God made me, created me to be here, so that I can at least at the end of the day be able to align my purpose with my profession, with the opportunities, and just do my part in this corner of the world to make things better for people.
Well, we are so glad you're here. Thank you again. And you can meet him. You can share your ideas, your concerns, your passions. And these listening sessions are going on throughout Greensboro. And as Ty said, that he hopes to continue them in the coming months as well. So look out for those. If you want to find more about that, go to greensboro-nc.gov. Look in the news section. It's right there at the top. You can also use the search bar and type in listening sessions. It'll be the first result that comes up. Once again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time and spending a little with us today. We'll see you back here next time on GTN, and have a great day.